Start recording. Hello, everyone. In the name of God, the Almighty, All Merciful, I'm joined today with Theo, my co-host, and myself, Irfan. And today's topic, guys, it's gonna be more philosophical. Last week we were talking about mostly about like how you should act as a human being, how to become a good human being through the verses of each of our faiths. Today, however, we're going to talk about what we even believe in. What is the core principles of why we believe in God? Why we believe that there is something more than what the atheists believe, which is just science. And I'm going to be quoting a lot of people. I'm going to put their names in both the video description and their books. And yeah, so I'm going to start off by asking the question again, the main question of the podcast. What truly separates humans from animals? Is consciousness merely the product of the brain, or does it point to something greater? So that's the main topic. And yeah, Theo, you want to say anything before we start?
Yeah, no, I'm ready to start. Got nothing
Wonderful.
to add.
I will say as well, guys, we have raised $20 this month for the charity, which is amazing. We got 5 people donating right now, or four, something around there. September 15th is when myself and Ost are going to find a local charity. We're going to drive out there and, give them the money. Hopefully, I can record something to show you guys where your money is going. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's been donating. We really appreciate it. All right, guys. So, um, I'm going to start with sort of explaining the two different beliefs that humans have regarding what consciousness even is. Okay. So we have two beliefs. I talked about this on the last episode, but I'm going to kind of reiterate. We have the human ideology, which is the human belief, which is more Islamic and Christian, with the Islamic basis on the word fitra. Okay. And I'll explain what all that means. Then we have the corporate ideology. So, what the human ideology believes is that we were born, we're brought into this world from birth with innate human natures, our primordial nature, which consists of the following things. So you're born with the desire to seek truth. You're born with the desire for goodness and perfection. You're born with a sense of justice. You're born with the inclination towards worship or seeking a higher power, and you're born with the love of beauty and virtue. Um, so, in a quote that sort of talks about the Islamic side of this is from Ibn Sina, the person who pretty much made algebra. The soul is corporeal in its origin and spiritual in its substance. I'll talk about what that really means in a bit. And then we have the corporate ideology. The corporate ideology believes that when we're born, we're kind of a blank slate, and that humans and our consciousness, our beliefs, our inclinations towards justice or whatever is solely based on the society we're born into and the history that society's had and whatnot. So a lot of ideological beliefs, like political beliefs, such as some nationalistic beliefs, are based in that. Some communist ones as well, where they believe that, hey, when we're born, we're blank slate, and based on how we raise this person, their inclinations will be different. Okay. Christians and Muslims, we don't believe that. We believe that everyone is born with that um, set values. Okay. So that's the two beliefs that we have, and I'll let you guys sort of think about what makes the most sense to you for a little bit. And I'm going to go into what is our evidence or what is our reason for thinking we even have a soul in the first place. Because what we believe as Christians and Muslims is that our soul is that spiritual connection to God. It is that spiritual seeking for justice and truth. It's our soul that does that. And the separation of soul and body is really important in our religions because it's the explanation to why we have like these primordial natures within us, to why we like do the things we do, why we believe everyone is going to eventually seek the same things. Some people might be born into a really bad family with a family full of criminals, but at some point in their life, they're going to be seeking the same things and turning a new leaf just as much as myself or someone who was born in a really religious family. We all believe as Christians and Muslims that at some point in our lives, everyone, all of humans, will have that point where they're like, "Hey, I'm looking for a life of truth, justice, love, all these things." And we believe that that's because of the soul. So what Ibn Sina and Murteza Mutahhari say about the soul is that there's a set of like so the exact theory behind it is the theory of substantial motion. We believe that the soul is born with those set values, and based on your habits and your actions, you can develop your soul at different rates. So we believe in Islam that the soul can be developed towards becoming more virtuous, becoming more righteous, or it can take setbacks and become less and stray away. Um, yeah, so that's sort of our view of that. Um, and the reason we believe we have a soul in the first place, it's like it's that individualization of people. So, for example, it's really hard to explain when you get into like these philosophical things. It's all in theory, so you guys really have to follow me here. Imagine you see a tree yesterday, and tomorrow, the day after, you're sitting there thinking, "Wow, that tree that I saw yesterday was really beautiful." What is that I? What are you referring to as I saw that tree? How do you know that you exist? You know, like that's that separation between us and animals is that we actually know of our existence. We question our own existence and we have full knowledge and like we're not ignorant of our existence. We know that we as a thing are there. And that I is not a physical thing, right? Like you know that you saw that tree and you thought it was beautiful, but that you, are you referring to your hand, your face, your skin, your bones? Like no, you're referring to something beyond that. And that you, that individualization is why we believe there is a soul in the first place. And other than that, guys, humans, we believe we think about things that are beyond the physical realm of anything, right? Like, what is morality? Why do we care about it? It's not a physical thing that we grab. It's not something that we need to survive, but we think about it and we act on it. When you start to think about and act on things that don't physically exist, something out of the physical realm should likely is the reason you do that. When you fast, even though you're hungry, you're not you're going against everything that your body needs, but you're doing that as a spiritual it's something above the physical realm. That's why we believe the soul exists, and we also believe that the soul is your connection to God, and through that connection God has given us the innate natures of seeking all the righteousness, worship, all these things. Now, I will say this leads to a few interesting questions. So, for example, my first question when reading these theories was okay, so if we all believe that humans innately are born with these things, then why do we have so many cultures that are lacking behind in this? Which a man by the name of, I'll write his name, Imam Sadra. Imam Sadra. That's where his theory of substantial motion comes in. He believes that, sure, all humans are born with the same innate natures. However, based on your upbringing, so it kind of mixes in with the corporate ideology. Based on your upbringing, like I said, the development of your soul can stray in different ways. You will always have that innate search for those things, but you can always stray away from it and, do wrong and believe in bad things. But in the end, we all believe that it is possible for all humans to reach the same conclusion in our minds at some point where some people it's going to take really long, some people it's going to take not really long, but in the end we're all going to reach that same conclusion. So ideologically it comes to the point where, okay, well, do we think that all people can live together? Like, can all people live, like, does race and culture, like, are they just a construct of society? To an extent you could say yes, but at the same time, what we see is that some cultures and some societies develop, go through that development quicker and better and with less mistakes. So in in sort of like a nationalistic sort of viewpoint, it's some cultures do this aspect of life better than others. So maybe there is a possibility that, we unite everyone under a really good societal view that helps us reach that development point. That's what we believe in as Muslims, that is that there is a cultural method for the entire world to fall under, a societal way of life to where we all can reach our primordial needs quicker, right? And yeah, so that's the viewpoint. We have the two types of ideologies. Some people believe that you're a blank slate when you're born with nothing, and society is the reason you gain all your consciousness and beliefs and reasonings, which all those things came to be through evolution in the first place. And then we have the Islamic and Christian viewpoint, where you are born with these primordial natures, and they encourage you and lead you to go through these stages of development, which all at the end reach the same place. And that's to seek worship, seek God, seek truth, seek justice, seek love and beauty and virtue. And yeah, so those are the things. And like I said, the reason we believe in the soul is because of that individuality that we believe in, or that we understand, which no other animal understands, and how we have the ability to forego the needs of the physical world because of something that's a mental aspect or a spiritual aspect. No animal is going to not eat when they're hungry because they're fasting. That's not a thing animals do, because they don't even have that, like, ideals in their heads. It doesn't make sense to them. So yeah, that's sort of what I found over my studies. There's definitely a lot more and a lot more detail about this, but um, this podcast is supposed to be more of a get you introduced to ideas, get you thinking a little bit, and then maybe answer some of your doubts. Because, guys, in both religions, Islam and Christianity, you're encouraged to ask questions. You're encouraged to seek um, like answers to things. You're not supposed to just believe blindly into anything. Um, and these are the questions that you should be asking. Why do I believe I have a soul? Why do I think that I'm born with these needs? What does my faith actually believe in? I didn't even know this is what Islam believed in. Like, I had no idea that we believed in the primordial needs, the fitra. Like, these are all things that I learned by doing this research. So I hope this answers some of your questions, raises some more questions, and hopefully when you guys are making decisions in life, you understand why you're making them and in what way you should make them to develop your soul better, right? But yeah, that's my little spiel. I know I kind of went really fast through it, but I noticed our last few podcasts we sounded really dead, so I'm trying to hype it back up a little bit, regular mood. But yeah, my co-host is extremely sick, but he's gonna take over and say his part on this. Yeah, go ahead, Theo.
Yeah.
The stage is yours,
Yeah,
man.
sorry about my voice and everything, but I'll try not to sound dead as I did in the last episode. But yeah, just going into more of the Christian position specifically, I really love how what you brought up when you're talking about it. And I just want to also bring up how part of the corporate position that I found is sort of this biological and evolutionary standpoint,
Mm,
where humans have evolved to sort of have this social nature, and that sort of gives it sort of plays into the blank slate, but it sort of explains some sort of desires, some sort of actions that we um, do and take because we're a social creature and we strive for connections with people
mm-hmm,
because evolutionary we needed that to survive. And sort of just going into that, and the Christian position is um, sort of this idea of free will, and that's a very big thing because it sort of explains that we aren't product of our evolution. We aren't a blank slate. We aren't sort of what we're brought up as. Like, we always have choices to make, and we're always in charge of those choices, and we're always responsible for those choices. And
mm-hmm,
that really sort of puts us apart from animals, as you said. Animals, they listen to their nature, but you see humans all the time, we act sort of against what would be evolutionary or best suited to our survival. So I think that's
mm-hmm.
a important thing to know is sort of we have this free will to make our own decisions and to seek the truth because while
Yeah,
yes it is ingrained into our soul, but sort of we're in charge of that and we're responsible for the actions that we make.
yeah. It's saying like it's not all about like, oh, feed my physical needs and then like move on. No, you're thinking on a whole different level than that, right?
Yeah. And
I
like you
will.
said,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay,
No, you're
so
good.
I will say I'll explain the corporate position a bit better. I'll keep it quick, guys. The reason we believe in the corporate idea is that throughout society, there was a big turning point in the evolution of Homo sapiens. The reason Homo sapiens came out over all other races of humans and animals was that we learned how to tell stories, right? It turned from like, oh, um, every person can only know so many people. So our tribes were always really small. We had 100 people tribes, 100 people villages, whatever. Eventually, though, we learned how to tell stories. When it turned out like, oh, they believe in this tree to be their god or something, and they would find another village like, oh, you also believe in this tree to be your god. All right, then we'll fight and die for you. And these relationships expanded based on story. When you saw someone wearing the same necklace as you, then you're gonna associate with them despite not actually knowing them. However, Neanderthals, for example, their societies work very differently. The tribe leader, just like how monkeys work, needed to know every single person individually within the groups, or their tribe wouldn't function. They would split off, they would fight each other. Homo sapiens, what we did was we told stories, and these stories helped our societies expand so far into the millions now. We have 1 billion people in China right now, and they're all somewhat united under the same country. So that is the corporate viewpoint. It's saying, hey, the only reason we even believe in religion and God and these things, it's because we're telling stories and it's part of our evolution and we just believe in it. However, the argument we have against that, it's, hey, like, why am I going against my evolutionary needs and all these things because I believe in a higher spiritual thing that has nothing to do with my physical thing, right? we're past that. We're pushing past those boundaries of evolution, and we're thinking on a way higher level than that. But yeah, go ahead, Hafka. The rest of your stuff.
Yeah, no, you brought up a pretty good point there, and
Mhm.
sort of pretty well explained what I was getting at.
Okay,
But I
sorry.
mean, there's just another thing. No, you're good. You're good. Another thing is, uh, with the soul. I mean, I have a verse from the Bible which I
Hmm.
think really helps sums up a sort of Christian view of things, and it's from Jeremiah, verse one, chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you." And that I think that does pretty well to show that the human soul is immortal and immaterial, like you said.
Hmm.
And we had a soul and we had a specific identity even before we were placed in this world. And yes, we can work on our soul, we can improve our soul, or we can have our soul be pushed back in spiritual ways. But I think in an argument against this corporate position about the blank slate, like I think we have intrinsic identity, and I
Hmm.
think we're born with that. And I don't think that sort of that identity is formed based on how we're upbrought. I think it's very intrinsic to our person.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, hundred. I get it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I like how you brought up a quote. I have a few as well. I'll talk about the first one I said. The soul is corporeal in its origin, and it's spiritual in its substance. So what that means, it's pretty much saying that when you come into this world, your soul is connected to your body and always will be. But in its existence, your soul improves and survives based on your spiritual substance, based on how much spirit, like how much on that higher level you're thinking and you're building it up. I'll say two more quotes from one from Ibn Sina. Whoever reflects upon himself knows that his soul is distinct from his body. Um, this is from his famous argument. It's called the floating man experiment. It argues that so imagine you there's a person hanging from the ceiling or something, and they had no sensory input at all. Like they had no physical, like they couldn't touch, they couldn't see, they couldn't hear anything. They would still they would still know that they exist. That person would still know that they exist. That's the argument. So that can only mean that we have something beyond the physical realm. And this is a Quran quote, 32:9. The body belongs to the earth, but the soul belongs to the one who breathed it into us. And that's God. But yeah, that's sort of our. I think that's a pretty good way to just sum up that topic. It's guys, if you get into it, you're gonna be like, I'll show you the book I bought. It's about 800 pages, or sorry, I 1,200 pages. It is so thick, like I'm scared to even touch it. But it is a huge topic, and I would definitely I don't even you don't have to go into it. Don't have to dive into the depths of it. Just think about it. When you're sitting there, you know, in time and space, think about like what am I? Like what am I that like I'm talking to myself right now and I'm thinking about my own existence. What really am I? Am I just am I just skin and bones? If I'm skin and bones, then how am I thinking about my existence? Like these things you have to think about. And only when you self-reflect, you will feel that hey, it's more than just this. All right. But yeah, good job, Afgai. I will say for next week we got a request from one of our listeners. They want to cover about men's mental health, and what God says about it, what our religions believe in it. Um, I think we're just going to do a mental health thing in general, and you know how you can maintain a healthy mind, a righteous mind in a situation in the world where everything around you is kind of falling apart. So we'll do a topic about mental health and what God says about it. But other than that, do you guys have any questions at all? Here, I'll open up the stage. Um, Go ahead, guys. Any questions? You guys, type in general real quick. Let me know. All right, Ost. What would you like to say?
But yeah, no, it's not so much a question, just hearing what both of you had to say. I think some of it kind of goes into the whole nature versus nurture sort of argument.
Hmm.
And I think what you guys were saying is the main part that is important, I guess, would be the nature of that. Is that kind of
Do
what
you
y'all
want
were
to?
getting at?
What's the nature nurture argument? Like, what does it state? Is it exactly like what we were talking about, pretty much?
Yeah, kinda. So, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I think there were different ways of explaining it, but
Hmm.
uh, you know, the nature would be all of man is, you know, born to act a certain way.
Hmm.
And then there's the nurture where the different cultures or upbringings would change who that person is.
Yeah.
So for you, you said that the nature aspect would be everyone is born to, I think what you said was to find a higher power and love and virtue and so on
Hmm.
and so forth. Um, I think you called the other perspective the corporate perspective. Is that?
The corporate ideology. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would be, I guess, nurture.
That would be like, yeah, you're a blank slate at birth. I will say, so the Islamic and I believe the Christians, we agree on majority of this, is that you're born with these needs. However, like cultures, some do it better, like in achieving these needs, right? And that's the developmental aspect of society, which we assume is developing, but it seems to be taking steps back. But like, yeah, like some cultures will be a place for a soul, for someone's spiritual aspect to develop better and to achieve these primordial needs a lot quicker. So I think there's a bit of both. The main disagreement is that we all believe that humans have the innate existence where, like, right off the bat, within us, we have those desires. And the other viewpoint, like a lot of communist beliefs, like Marxist beliefs, are that no, like we have to shape these people into what we want them to be. Um, but it's like an aspect. We're pretty much saying you have these needs when you're born, and based on what culture you're in, you achieve these needs and this like sort of peace that hey, like I found truth, I found justice sooner than later in some cultures. But yeah, okay. Uh,
Yeah.
Anything else, Ost?
Uh,
You have a comment on
no,
that?
I would no. I think everything's sort of they're very similar viewpoints. I think.
To some of yours?
Yeah, and just the nature nurture sort of
Mm-hmm.
idea of that being I don't want to say an argument, but for lack of a better term, an argument
Yeah.
um, is very similar to what you and Half Guy were talking about, and
Yeah.
I see
So
that.
it's
Yeah.
a it's a crazy thing. Like going to the history of this topic, it dates back like at least 800, 900 years, and it was an era where Christian scholars and philosophers and Muslim scholars and philosophers were constantly quoting each other, either supporting each other's ideas, or starting arguments and debating about these ideas. And in the end, a lot of Christians actually believe in Imam Sadra, who was like the final guy to sort of piece it all together with the substantial motion theory of the soul. And it was a big point of agreement in history where we're sort of like, yeah, that kind of makes sense for both religions and both ideals. It's it's interesting. Like, we cooperated a lot in this aspect of knowledge and thought, which was really cool to see. But yeah, guys, any other questions or statements? Theo, you want to say anything for that?
Yeah, I just wanted to, well, first of all, how you just ended off there, I think that really sums up the name of this podcast pretty well. Just
Mm-hmm.
one search between our two perspectives. But, I just wanted to ask, I probably know your position, but, I wanted to bring this up because in this new age, we have, AI, and it's pretty easy to see how really soon that AI is going to be thinking a lot faster than humans. And in terms of intelligence and thinking power, it's going to surpass us as humans. But obviously, I want to hear, does that make AI conscious? Whether it's
Whoa,
ability to think pretty fast. Obviously, I think from our perspective, that's a no, because consciousness is
is a God-given right.
very a God-given right. That's right. And very specific to humans, but uh, from a biological standpoint, if you look at consciousness as just the intelligence thing, and if the only thing that separates humans from animals is our intelligence and our brains, then do you think that that gives people an argument to say that AI will someday gain consciousness? I know there's a lot of science fiction that deals with
Mm-hmm.
that topic, but I want to hear you talk about it. And, you
Well,
know,
yeah, no, it's a good question. I think I wouldn't say it's mostly about intelligence. Like I said about that argument about the
yeah,
floating man, it's the knowing that you exist and knowing that, like, it's that knowing of existence, that individualization of me, or I thought this tree was beautiful. What is I? And you can think about that and try to, like, I think that's that separation, right? It's like intelligence and thought on these based on like a non-physical realm. That's also a good argument, but like you said, we replicated things that can do that. So
so
maybe it
just
is just
adding on
that.
to that. Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish your thought here.
No, I was pretty much just gonna repeat the individualization thing. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, like if you think, like, do you think that the ability to perceive itself and to think about itself, do you think that could come from a high degree of intelligence and processing power?
I
My position is that I think it imitates us as humans because, well, we train it on ourselves, but I don't think that it truly gains that distinction, you know?
It can learn to think that way, right? But it's that, like, I don't know. It's just we were born with that sort of knowing of our existence. But it can learn to think like, oh, what am I? And it can ask itself questions, but I don't really think it understands what that individual thing is. That's an interesting point, the AI point, especially when you think about all the
Mhm.
science fiction. It's like, but honestly, like, we don't know what's possible. Like, we don't know where AI can go. So that's
And, it
interesting.
feels like it's getting pretty close. Seems like every day you hear another breakthrough about something like that.
Yeah.
So I figure it's a good thing to think about and to really dive into on
That's a
your own
scary
time.
topic. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, boys. I'm done, Theo. I don't have much else to add, to be honest with you. Do you have anything else?
No, I guess that was my sort of last thought and just something to leave people off with, I guess, to think about, just
Yeah,
in addition to what else we talked about.
perfect. No, that was good. I got to think about that myself. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. We covered what our religions say about consciousness, purpose, the soul. Um, a lot of these things that I said today relate back to last week's podcast about achieving greatness. And a lot of what achieving greatness is just following your primordial nature and reaching righteousness and justice and showing that to the rest of the world. So, yeah, take a look at the podcast. They relate pretty well together. And that's pretty much it. Next week, we'll talk about mental health and what God, you what support we have and what ideas we have to maintain good mental health when society is crumbling around us. But yeah, guys, thank you for showing up. Make sure you check out the Patreon, the charity. We're at $20. We should be at 40 by next month before the donation run. We got a goal of $50, and we're hoping to find a local charity and record us giving it out, maybe, so you guys see where the money is actually going. But yeah, thank you guys very much. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Ost. And yeah, guys, bye bye. See ya.